Every story begins with a person. Every person begins with a voice. This is Think in English Leap, the master storyteller. There was a man named Daniel. He was 32 years old. He had a good job, a small apartment, a few friends who called on birthdays and holidays. By every measurable standard, his life was fine. But Daniel had a secret. Something he had never told a single person in his life. Not his mother, not his best friend, not even himself. Not out loud, anyway. Every single evening, after work, after dinner, after the world went quiet, Daniel talked to his walls. Not because he was lonely, not because he was strange, but because the walls were the only ones who never judged him. And Daniel had spent his entire life terrified of being judged. You see, Daniel had grown up in a house where getting things wrong was the worst thing you could possibly do. His father was a precise man, a careful man, a man who believed that silence was always safer than the wrong answer. And Daniel learned that lesson perfectly. Too perfectly. By the time he was 7, he stopped raising his hand in class. By the time he was 15, he stopped sharing his opinions with anyone. By the time he was 20, he had built 4 walls around himself so high and so thick that almost nothing could get in, and almost nothing could get out. The irony was, Daniel was brilliant. His mind worked in ways that most people could only dream of. He saw connections between ideas that nobody else noticed. He had thoughts that could have changed rooms, changed minds, changed lives. But they stayed inside, safe, silent, unseen. Until the walls. Every evening, Daniel would stand in his kitchen, cup of tea in hand, and he would just talk about his day, about his ideas, about the things he wished he had said. And slowly, very slowly, something began to change. Because here's the thing about talking, even to walls. It teaches you the shape of your own voice. It teaches you that your words have weight, that your ideas have value, that your voice, your actual voice, deserves to be heard by more than empty rooms. One evening, Daniel was on his commute home. He was standing on the train, headphones in, listening to an English podcast, when the man next to him dropped his phone. It slid across the floor and stopped at Daniel's. Daniel picked it up. And before his brain could stop him, before the 4 walls could close back in, he said, "Here you go. Careful, the screen looks like it cracked a little." The man looked at him, looked at the phone, and laughed. "Third time this week," he said. "I really need a case." Daniel smiled. "Get a good one," he said. "The cheap ones never last." The man laughed again. "Good advice," he said. And that was it. 11 seconds, maybe 12, the most ordinary exchange in the history of human conversation. But Daniel stood there for the rest of that train journey with something warm sitting in his chest, something he had not felt in a very long time. Connection, real connection with another human being, through words, his words. He went home that evening and he did not talk to the walls. Instead, he opened his notebook and he wrote, "My voice works. My voice actually works." And below that, 3 words that changed everything that came after. "I will try again." Now, here's what I want you to understand, leapers. Daniel is not a fictional character I made up to make a point. Daniel is every person who has ever swallowed a word because they were afraid of getting it wrong. Daniel is every English learner who rehearsed a sentence perfectly in their head but let the moment pass without saying it. Daniel is the version of you that talks to walls, or practices in the shower, or mouths words silently on the commute, because that space feels safe. And I want to tell you something about that version of you. That version is not weak. That version is not broken. That version is practicing. Every word you say in the safe space is a word that is getting ready for the real space. Every sentence you rehearse alone is a sentence that is getting braver. Every time you open your mouth when nobody is listening, your voice is learning that it is worth hearing. The walls are not your prison. The walls are your training ground. But here's the moment of truth. At some point, the training ground has to become the arena. At some point, the safe rehearsal has to become the real performance. And that point is not when you feel ready. It is not when your English is perfect. It is not when the fear goes away. That point is now. It is always now. Because the world does not need your perfect English. The world needs your real voice, the imperfect, beautiful, genuine, real voice that has been practicing in secret, getting braver, getting stronger, getting ready for exactly this moment. So here's your challenge today, Leapers. Find your wall. Find the safe space, your bedroom, your bathroom, your car, your kitchen with a cup of tea, and say one thing out loud in English that you have never said before. One real thought, one real feeling, one real opinion. Say it to the wall if you need to, but say it. Because the man on the train who dropped his phone did not need Daniel's perfect English. He just needed Daniel's voice. And somewhere out there, someone is waiting for yours. Think it, say it, live it. This is Maya from Think in English Leap. Keep leaping forward, always.